In today's gospel, we're invited into the intimacy between Jesus and the Father. And Jesus is praying to the Father. This gospel is referred to as Jesus' high priestly prayer, and we hear the first and second part. But in this prayer, Jesus says a specific phrase that we can all take for ourselves. He says, "I glorified you on earth by accomplishing the work that you gave me to do." Each one of us has a plan, or rather God has a plan for each one of us, a design that He wants us to fulfill and unfold throughout our lives. And we have to be fixed on doing the will of God of the present moment, to be detached from all things, as good as they are, but detached. And we have to have our eyes and hearts set on heaven. We see this attitude in St. Paul, who says, literally, he says, I consider life of no importance. And instead, his only concern is to finish the course and the ministry that was entrusted to him by Jesus, which is to preach a gospel of grace. All the saints sought to unfold throughout their lives the plan of God. We see this also in the life of St. Philip Neri, whose memorial we celebrate today. There are two episodes in the life of St. Philip Neri that show how he was detached from all things of this world, desired only to do the will of God, and had his heart fixed on heaven. The first episode was when he was 18 and he gave up a career in business. He was set to inherit his uncle's business, but he gave all that up and eventually understood that God called him to be a priest and eventually founded what is known today as the Oratory. So St. Philip was detached from a career in this world. The second episode that shows how he was detached from things, attached only to the will of God with his heart set on heaven, is when the Pope wanted to make him a cardinal. And the Pope hinted at this when he hung a cardinal's hat on St. Philip's door. The people who saw him say that St. Philip took the hat and threw it into the air like a frisbee, saying "Paradiso, Paradiso," which means paradise, paradise, indicating that his only desire in this life was heaven. And so I invite all of us to reflect on our own lives, to look at the things that we may be attached to and to detach from them, to recognize that they are gifts from God, but let's not forget that they are gifts from God. He is the giver, and not to be attached to the gifts. And to help us focus on this moment, there's a prayer that St. Therese, the little flower, used to say every morning. She'd say, "You know, my God, that to love you I have only today." I'd like to change it a little and instead invite you to live it this way. You know, my God, that to love you I have only right now. And so let's set our hearts on heaven.